Yeah, man. Let's kill that bass head. Alright, let's do this.
I'm on the air, we got this pockets flow. It's me and Tony on the mics, we gotta let you know of current events, little gaming, sprinkling some entertainment. We stay humble, but our moms still think we're famous. Turn up the bass and baby, maybe let that magic flow. Our spoken word is all the things you really wanna know. Having a good time on the show, T-Bows and Matty G. Tune in and hit subscribe and join us on the FAP.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Freaking Awesome Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Bowes, and sitting next to me, of course, is my co-host, Matty G.
Howdy ho.
Just going to give a quiet nod. Banter back and forth, but, I want to jump right into things tonight because we ran out of a little shy last time that our wonderful guest was with us. Returning today, of course, and if you don't know him, shame on you, is the legendary Squonk Page.
Shame on you. Shame on you. First of all, I love your little opening. First of all, it grooves really hard, man. It's got a nice little swing to it. So hats off to you.
Thank you, sir.
That is all Matty G. So
Matty
he did
G.
all the voices and the backbeats and everything. So
ooh, all right.
Yeah, little beatbox, lay a track, and away we go. Smooth sailing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how we can do that now, all these tools that we have? We can, just think about it. Look at you guys are in the broadcast business. 10 years ago, you're competing with NBC now, right? And all the it's like crazy. but the only difference is back then, this is a global network. Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty amazing, actually.
We do actually have some interesting locations for listeners too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some places I've never even heard of, and I'm like, where is this? I had to look it up on the map, and I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. What is this Germany you talk about?
I'm just thankful that most other countries' second language is English.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's helpful.
Yeah,
like when touring all those years, that really helped. At least English kind of did good, except for a few places got a little wonky in a couple of spots.
Yeah.
And now we got those apps. We can just hold it up and talk to the app, and it translates.
See, that's incredible.
Exactly. Yeah. We're living in the Star Trek age.
We certainly are.
So
I wish somebody would do that with my wife when I ask her what she wants for dinner. I don't know. You pick, and it's like burger and fries. Oh, okay, all right.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's fantastic. Exactly what I wanted.
Yep.
So absolutely cool. Matty G, before we jump further, you got some news for us?
Yes, I think you're going to love this. I found this, and it was so obscure that I just had to share. So the article reads, "It's pretty metal," says a man who turned his uncle's skeleton into a guitar. So it's a robust story. So this one's pretty long, but I wanted to share it all because it's got some interesting things. So I snipped it a bit, but a Florida musician says turning his late uncle's skeleton into a sick guitar was the very best way to honor the man who first introduced him into heavy metal. The Tampa Bay, Florida musician, of course, Florida, who goes by the moniker Prince Midnight, says he crafted the instrument out of the medically prepared remains of his uncle Philip. The Skelecaster is the result of lots of bureaucratic wrangling, family skirmishes, and experimental craftsmanship, Midnight said. His uncle Philip died in a car accident in Greece in the mid-90s, and this was at the age of 28. Per his wishes, his remains were donated to science, and his skeleton was used in medical school classes for decades. So they basically, they whatever they do, it's like a calcification process where they harden the bones, and then they can be used as a medical prop, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then one day the school realized they no longer had any use for the bones. So Philip's parents had since died, but the responsibility fell to Midnight's mother, so basically his sister. Mm-hmm. Cremation was not an option for the Greek Orthodox family based on their beliefs, so his mother was stuck with two options: pay for a burial plot or continue to pay a monthly fee to store the remains. So she didn't want to do either. And so the son said, no problem, I'll take care of it. So I guess this guy jumped through all kinds of red tape. He had to contact like funeral homes. The State Department got involved, and basically said he just kept holding on to the memories of his uncle, and he thought his uncle would think this was so cool. So I saw some of the pictures. He ended up welding a metal bar to the spine, and then he basically the chassis is built of an old Telecaster. And he attached red and blue wires to do all the insides so that it looked like veins, which I thought was like, oh, that's so crazy, man. So anyways, I feel like Uncle Phil's not just here figuratively, he's here literally now too. And I'm giving Uncle Phil hugs while he's with me, creating heavy metal riffs. So.
That's crazy. What a great story, right? It kind of reminds me of, in I think it's in Japan, they actually, what they do, I remember I'm going to this museum. I can't remember what it was years ago. And what they did is they used to tattoo themselves like completely everywhere, and they would actually skin the person when they died and then mount them. So there's giant freaking of the tattoo of the piece of art. So they skin the actual art of the actual body up on it. So this is a new one. I mean, it's like, there you go.
I looked it up, and apparently it's never been done before. This is the first time anybody's ever done this.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I was thinking he was going to take the bones and then drop them into some kind of clear liquid that they froze to create a guitar.
Yeah,
have the bones in there and stuff, But it's a fascinating. It's a very interesting idea. It's very interesting. Thanks for that. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's insane. As soon as you had said that originally, I was just like, oh my God, they didn't dig him up for this, did they? And so to hear that he was already in a classroom and I'm actually kind of more amazed that the school even contacted family to figure out what to do with the remains, right? Because I figured at this point, if this person's been hanging in a class for as a prop kind of thing, they would just stick them in a dusty closet somewhere. So the fact that they actually contact the family is pretty cool. Yeah. Now that's cool. I like that.
It especially sounds good when he's doing songs like digging up bones or them bones, them bones, them bones right in.
That's awesome.
It's true. It'd be just crazy. All right. So my first news article today. I don't know if you have ever heard of this. Have you heard of Brewer's syndrome?
What is it?
Brewer's syndrome.
Brewer's system?
Yes. Syndrome.
Syndrome. Brewer's syndrome.
Yes. Yeah. So neither had I. So I thought originally when that first came up, I was just like, wait a minute, this isn't some type of lame excuse for people to get drunk at a bar, is it? But in actuality, this is a physical condition in the human body. And what happened was a man was pulled over while driving, where the police had suspected that, of course, that he was under the influence of alcohol. They pull him over. When they put him in did the breathalyzer, he blew 5 times over the legal limit.
Whoa.
Now, he swore, he was like, I have not had a single thing to drink. So then they had, of course, booked him because it was like way too much alcohol. They impounded his car, and they did a test on him. And what they had found out is he has a very rare condition called Brewer's syndrome. So what happens is if he eats carbohydrates, his stomach ferments it and then turns it into alcohol. So he is literally a human brewing machine.
Oh, wow.
So, and he said the worst part is he's a big fan of cakes. So, the one thing he now can't really eat, or if he does, he now has to he can't eat cake and drive. So he has to live a non-carb lifestyle now. And in order to basically still be able to drive. And then he says every once in a while he'll take the weekend off and he'll have a slice of cake.
Oh, wow. Well, you can think of this. Yeah, he can drink now and they won't know. He's got an excuse for drinking. So it could work the other way. Hey, I'm drunk, really. Exactly. You don't know it because
just ate some bread.
Now does he get get high from eating cake? I mean, so that he's impaired?
Yeah. He gets totally drunk off of it because of the carbohydrates.
He actually gets high on that. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So just imagine now you don't have to pay that high price for alcohol. You could just pop a couple crackers into your mouth, and within like 20 minutes, you'll be drunk.
Guy loves pasta. He's just a pasta man.
Yeah, cheapest drunk ever.
Wow.
All right, Maddie, what else you got?
So this one, because the first one was pretty long, the second one's super short. So I just thought it was funny because it matched up perfectly with my other news. So man with Florida forehead tattoo accused of calling 911 for ride home. So what's interesting about this is that I figured it was like, I didn't know that it was an actual crime. Like I knew that it was like mischievous and you shouldn't do it, but I didn't know it was an actual crime. So Matthew Lehman, 22, allegedly called the emergency number after 4 a.m. in Newport Richey, Tampa Bay suburb on Sunday. The complaint says that Pasco County deputy found Letham and offered to call him a taxi, but Letham said he didn't have any money. Letham then allegedly started walking and called 911 a second time, at which point the officer just arrested him. Letham was charged with misuse of the 911 system as well as possession of marijuana. He was released on a $300 bond. So
clever.
And there's the answer.
So when the police officer says, yeah, please don't do that, and then you do it again, I mean.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny when I was younger and in college, I was up in Barrie, Ontario, and I'd come down to Toronto for actually because I was applying to a different college. And after we were done, we had missed the last bus out. So my friend and I had decided, well, you know, we'll catch the one bus up to, I think it was the Richmond Hill area. And we thought, okay, well, how much farther could Barrie really be? And we decided that we were going to walk it. And, you know, little did I realize that it is illegal to walk on the 400 off the side of it. So a police officer pulled over and started asking us a bunch of questions because they thought we were just drunk. And then when they realized that we were just two college students trying to get home.
No, just stupid.
Like, just stupid. But the funny thing is, he never said that we had to get off the side of the 400. So it wasn't until I had gotten home, and let me tell you, that was the worst night of my life because we saw this sign that was like way off in the distance, say, oh, that's the Barrie, the edge of Barrie, so we're not that far. Well, little did we realize the billboard was about 100 feet up in the air. So what looked like was on the horizon, it just kept on going.
Yeah, I wonder why humans always say, that was the worst night of my life. And then they're laughing. It's like you always have those guys that go, you know, oh, I broke my arm. Oh, dude, that ain't nothing. I broke my arm, my limb. That's like everybody tries to one up everybody on their disasters. And it's a funny thing, right? Such a weird
yeah.
So
I think in life, I think that's what they say. At least we can look back and laugh on it, right? So that's living proof, I guess. All right, my next article. Now, this article is something I honestly, it's something we're going to show everybody. So for the first time ever, we're going to play a little video within a video. And we have a viral video, and this is absolutely hilarious. What this was is a video of a lawyer who is on a Zoom call with a judge, and he was unaware that he had a filter on that made him look like a cat. Now, when I go to play this, I have to tell you what you need to do through the whole thing. If you're not watching the cute eyes of the cat going back and forth, which is really funny, watch the guy in the upper right-hand corner. So watch his facial expression through this whole thing. Now we'll bring this up here, and here we go.
Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to
can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
No.
I can see that. I think if you click,
look at this guy in the upper corner
next to this.
So before I get off this thing, now that guy was totally stone-faced right up until we've got a lawyer who says, but I'm not a cat. Like that actually had to be explained. But what I love, yeah, right. But what I love is and I don't know if I can go back to this, but through this whole video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this back up briefly. Let's pause this. Okay, now look up here in the upper left-hand corner where it says the recording of this hearing or live streaming is prohibited. So clearly the judge or one of the other lawyers who was watching this thing did not adhere to their own law.
It was worth the risk.
And that's the thing, right? This thing totally paid off that they were doing that. So I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
I mean, because the guy was so serious as the cat. You'd think he'd be going, "Oh my God, I can't believe this cat," but he's like, "Yeah, there's something wrong." It's just like, his eyes are wrong.
And the fact that he says he's like, "And I'm prepared to go on with this." Like he's like, "I'm prepared to do this. I will do this as a cat."
That's funny.
You know, clearly this is exactly why you don't allow your children and or grandchildren to use your work computer.
Especially before your court case.
Yeah.
So that is, of course, our hilarity in news today. So this is great because we've been doing some really good time, and I'm happy about that because last time you were here, Scott, we did not nearly get enough time chatting with you. You've had such an amazing career. You're working on some amazing projects, and we really want to kind of hear more about what you've got going on. Specifically, the last time we had talked, you had said that you were working with a company that had invested in shoes that turned people into like living speakers.
Yeah. So yeah.
And I was hoping you could.
That goes back to you know, the immersive company. My company, Think Experience, was an immersive entertainment company. That's what we do. And, you know, it was really based on, you know, pre-COVID, right? The idea of people going places and, you know, experiencing things. And what you're talking about is, you know, our whole idea was how do we bring really cool new experience technologies to people in a space that they can actually come and share and add a live component to it all. And so that company was actually a friend of mine that's a venture capitalist, and they basically invested $10 million into this company. We ended up not ever getting to do it because we were going to, but we got shut down because of COVID. So I never really got to go through it. But, you know, the whole idea of being able to put those shoes on and turn you into a speaker. And he says the experience is so incredible. He says you never want to listen to music a different way again because it's just so, you feel it. So, but unfortunately, I can't tell you about it because we didn't get a chance to really go do it because of COVID. But, you know, so we've had to reshift our whole thing. And, you know, I've basically taken Think, and one of the projects we're working on is a thing called Livin', LIVN .live, because we all want to get back to living. And what it is really, I noticed what was happening as far as, you know, like everything we had going this year just stopped, right? You know, it's like we had all this beautiful revenue that we were going to see coming in, and we were going to Budapest where we were going to play Jazz Fest, and then we were building that big venue out by the Queen Mary, the immersive space. Then it all stopped. So I had to do is I said, okay, well, this is going to be different. Where are the opportunities? Because first thing I realized, you know, just like us talking, the only thing is real is us talking right now. 2 minutes ago is not real. 2 minutes from now. So I figured all those jobs and everything that I thought I was going to do, they were just a thought, right? So I figured and threw that away. And I said, well, inside all this confusion as an entrepreneur, there's usually incredible opportunities. So I started really thinking about where things were going. And so we built and put together the concept of Livin', and Livin' is really kind of a new business model that really ties around the concept of live, what I'll call interactive broadcast experiences. And what I mean by that is, so with the ideas is there's several things that have happened from a technology point of view, and me being a technologist, because, you know, all the companies I've launched have been technology companies. So I try to stay very close to the market on understanding where things are going. So I realized at that time that, you know, obviously there's a lot of people, our user behaviors have changed dramatically since this COVID thing, right? All this two-way real-time stuff that we're doing like right now was, you know, it was there with Zoom and stuff, but it was more used in a corporate world that it wasn't really pushed to the consumers. And now everybody's like, you know, I catch myself, I'm on my phone, I'm out watering my yard. I've got 5 of my friends on a FaceTime call. One of them's, you know, cooking dinner and whatever. We're hanging out, right? So I started thinking about it, that the real thing that's happening now is the concept of live two-way, right? So I started thinking about, well, we're still live experience will still happen for a while, but it's not going to be, 10,000 people in arena jammed up to their things like that for a while. I think it's going to still be this way for a bit. And the fact that this behavior now that everybody's getting forced into using is now becoming like, well, okay, it's second nature that we do this kind of communication. So what we've done is we built an idea that's basically around a live performance, but it's more of a premium model where you can have certain amount of people based on whatever kind of social distancing or however you can kind of do it in a way that would be what we call safe in a sense. And then the idea of live streaming, which we know is happening like crazy, but it's really not the one-way stream. It's really the two-way stream. It's the interactive. Yeah. So I started thinking about, well, how can I bring fan in stream now to actually in a live event? So I can have a live event now. How do I bring the fans into that? So the idea of bringing fan in stream and that in the two-way stuff. But then the third component that hit me was the fact that we're now getting so used to using delivery service. Right. Mm-hmm. So as a delivery service, that means that I can do my show, but before the show, I can actually deliver you something that makes the experience. So now we can share an interactive experience. I can't hand it through the screen, but if you have a package that opened up and you open up that box and here's the stuff, and now we have things that creates more of a two-way thing. Like an example would be like for you guys might be interesting. If you had a sponsor that had a specific product, you could ship that product, if it was wine or coffee or whatever it was, to the person that you're bringing online. And then we could be sharing it and talking about it and actually experiencing things. So I see that as an area that's very interesting. And along with the fact that now if I have a live event and it's a cool, velvet rope style event, high premium event, but then I can actually bring fans to the event with me through the two-way aspect of it and how I incorporate them into the actual live event. And then actually being able to broadcast that to another location where I can set up in the same kind of place or in the home to create a live experience, a unique experience using the concept of real-time two-way. So we're right in the midst of that right now. We were going to shoot our pilot on the 14th of November, 14th of this month or last month. But we got cut off because of COVID, but we're getting ready to jump back into that again. Hopefully we'll be able to go do this in April and get it started. But, I'm like I said, for me, this is probably the greatest time as an entrepreneur. I'm on my fourth company and I can't even think of a more exciting time for an entrepreneur because there's so many problems that need to be solved now that have changed. Business models have changed. It's forcing us these new technologies of changing. And I just think that it's a very exciting time while everybody else is out there kind of, a lot of them are kind of crying in their beer. What am I going to do? Where is it going to go? I'm like going, well, wait a minute. This is like all this confusion. If you look, you can find the gems and where it's at. So that's what we're doing. And living is really rocking, laughing, tasting, thinking, and giving, and all ROCKN. Yeah. That's our brand. And we're getting ready to launch this whole new kind of very unique live experience that becomes an event that you can, people love Super Bowls and they love those types of things. And so if you can create an event but make it interactive, I think that's really kind of where the model's going now.
Yeah, and just an amazing way to see things and approach them. I mean, being able to offer an interactive experience now while people are still isolated and staying at home is actually quite important because not only are a lot of people missing these experiences, missing going to concerts, missing interacting with other people, to be able to offer that and bring people together. And again, through that power of music and joy and sharing and stuff, such a great way to do that. Now, it's really funny up here in Canada because shipping on things is crazy compared to the US. Now, I had created a board game several years ago, and it went to production and everything. And I did it through a Kickstarter program. When it came time to sending everything out to everybody, just to send something that it was about the size of a deck of cards, cost $13.95 per deck to send out, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
you know, and it was the funniest thing. It was actually cheaper for me to ship it to Russia than it was for me to send it to the person next door to me.
Yeah.
So,
are you using? But do you have like Uber Eats and some of those types of things, right? So that's the kind of delivery.
We do, yes.
Talk about less about. I mean, it can be mail,
Okay.
but it can be. You can actually be delivered to somebody, and again, if it's a premium service, you can build that into the business model, what the cost of that is. But people are getting so used to delivery now, right? Because everything.
Yeah.
I mean, my house is getting pounded, you know, on a daily basis with Amazon because you're just constantly, I want to get it. And it's like it's like, do I really want to go out and get it? And I can say, I'll just get it. It'll be here tomorrow. Boom, I'm done. Right. So we're all getting reconditioned into this whole new thing. So all I'm saying is that I think there's some really incredible opportunities. And there's also, you know, things that you can do where you could say delivery service, but it doesn't necessarily, I don't even need to ship it. I may partner with a local a restaurant that is tied to, you know, Uber Eats or one of the services. And we have something that gets shipped there, and you could have ways of getting things and start bringing local community into the idea. But for me, it's really about how do I think about experience? What can I do the experience? Because people will pay for the experience, you know, getting people to just pay to watch a live stream of something, unless it's some major, you know, big time artist. But, you know, for the average kind of thing, I've got to think about what I can do that's unique that they will pay for. And, you know, so I think that there's a real opportunity in building product into live shows, but I'm really excited about the idea of bringing somebody that's on a live stream into my show in a unique way. And I'm very excited about that. I've been really focused on that and applying a couple patents in that area because I see some really unique things that we can do now that can make it really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think you're right. I mean, retail is only going to recover so much after this, but there's going to be a huge subset of the population that's just like, well, this is actually good enough. You know what I mean? Like I can order what I need. Yeah, I might have to wait a day or two. But sometimes that's delayed gratification is sometimes better anyway. So, you know, I think that there's going to be a huge chunk of people, myself included, that just don't need to go out as much or do retail shopping as much. So
or
it's gonna be interesting.
Your house too, because you're gonna have your family, your friends, people come on over, let's hang out. Hey, we got a great living thing that's gonna happen tonight, man. I hear they got freaking, you know, blah 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 is gonna be on, and we bought the premium tickets, so we're gonna get to be part of the show. Let's be part of the whole thing. And so there's, I think, because we got to look for business models, especially as artists, as musicians, because you can't sell music anymore. There's no place to sell music. Where am I going to sell music?
Well, you look at a great company for that already is UFC. Look at UFC. Their majority of their sales are from at home, you know, experience seekers. You have a couple buddies over, you grab some wings, you make it a thing, right? That's you guys can ride that model very, very easily.
Yeah, so I see that as being an interesting model. And I think that also fits into the corporate world, because I'm finding that a lot of the corporate people want to have, even though people are at home in places, how they can make a neat experience to have a party where everybody comes on. And, you know, it's like, you know, so, and again, these technologies, you know, like Zoom and stuff, there's a whole bunch of new ones that are coming out that are really starting to get to be designed in a way to create a more kind of an interactive experience other than just talking, but ones that can start to think about how we deliver audio and all those types of things along with it.
There's a new codec out, I think, isn't there too? The AV1, is it? I think that Google and Apple and they all decided to work together on one. Apparently there's, I think there's a new codec that they've been working on that I heard is ready for release this year. That's supposed to cut bandwidth in half again. So it's supposed to, that will improve the experience for sure.
Yeah, no question, as they get those technologies, all that compression stuff. Yeah, and again, don't forget 5G coming on. So, I mean, that's another opportunity, because remember, all the networks want to show 5G off, right? Because that's it. So, I mean, a big part of my career has always been trying to be on enough of the leading edge that I could find those companies that'll write a big check for us to showcase what's going on. And I think there's quite a bit of that right now. I think there's a lot of new innovation going on where there's companies going to be involved. Because I mean, my whole thing is I always try to bring in different kinds of tech companies and businesses where we're a complement to them, to sort of bring them in. And then again, if I'm always delivering leading edge, that means my experience is always leading edge. And I try, it helps you stay on the leading edge by, having that kind of a business strategy to, really, how do I help Intel? And how do I help Cisco or Microsoft or whoever it is, right? And if I can figure that out, and what are they looking for, then I can build my model around that. Then I can approach them, and usually they have some pretty good deep pockets. I mean, we did that at Seventh Level, one of my companies, and it was extraordinary. They would write incredible checks. We didn't have to give up equity in the company, and we could use that money to go build things. And we would build things for them, and then they market for you too at the same time. They're pushing it out for you. You become showcase for them. That's why when we were talking about the shoes and all of that is like, I'm always trying to say, what can I do that's unique to everybody else's experience, or how can I package something up that people can kind of have a little dig it? And, it really works. I mean, it's amazing. People they'll write checks for that.
Cool. It'd be cool. Yeah. With those shoes. And I thought about this after our conversation last time. It'd be cool if you each get a pair, right? But you each get a rhythm section, like one person could be drums, one person can be bass, and it uses Bluetooth so as you walk into a room, it syncs up. I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah. Dude, you can start thinking of all kinds of things, man. Just think about it. Hanging out with your woman.
Yeah.
You got this one.
So, it's really, it's really funny because I was going to ask you, if you have all this technology for shoes around, have you ever thought about converting that into underwear? And then when you're saying you're feeling the rhythm and you're feeling all these things, just imagine what market you could tune into.
Oh, dude, no, listen, that market's going to be on fire, because just think about it again. We plug in, you're there, I'm there. I mean, it gets very, very interesting, especially when you start putting VR glasses on. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was
exactly.
You start
I'm not gonna lie.
I've
watched
that could be
it.
It's
crazy.
Like, the adult world is about to get very interesting, especially as all this 5G and everything starts to come online.
Yeah.
And it again, that's really funny because I think when we first talked about the shoes, I often have a tendency to look at Matt on the screen, because the first time Matt introduced me to VR, it was so cool and interactive. And then Matt instantly started coming up with these things like, the idea of like how everything could be interactive. Now, if you just work that out with the sex toy industry at the same time.
Oh yeah, no, dude, that's happening. I mean, for me, it was interesting. My really first introduction to kind of the new, I was around VR back in, the 80s, when it was the first run of all this stuff, right? Where you didn't have enough bandwidth or horsepower, but, I got a little idea of what it was going to be like. And then I had a friend of mine who's a business executive, and he goes and he's a consultant. He works with companies that put business. He goes in and helps them build out their business and stuff. And so I called him up. He said, "Oh yeah, let's have lunch today." He says, "Yeah, I'm working over here." He says, "I'm working for actually 25 porn stars that have put a company together in VR." Right. And he says, "Oh, I'm come over and pick him lunch." So I got there and he says, "Have you ever seen this stuff?" I said, No, I haven't put on glasses." He says, "Well, check this out." Dude, I was like, holy cow, this is where VR is going to definitely take off, man. I mean, it's a whole other ball game. And I was shocked. And then he was talking about the devices and things. And, it starts to get pretty, I mean, we're moving into a world where, people are going to be connecting and, like this, right? And it's very...
It's like
twisted. I think we're merging with machines. I truly believe, I think man is actually, we're designing ourselves out right now. We talk about the, the algorithms and robots. You can see how robust they're getting. I don't know if you've seen some of those latest robots from Boston Dynamics that are out there. Freaking, I mean, they're like you can't knock them over. They get back up. They open doors. They jump. They fly. I mean, it's crazy what they can do now. So you see that going on, and then you see how, we're basically feeding databases of information, right? And now that stuff can be called up like that. You start thinking of kind of the robotic algorithms, AI, that people said, "Oh, well, they'll never be emotional. Won't have all that stuff." And I'm like, well, wait a minute, man. Now we've got quantum computing, because remember before it was just on and off, yes or no, binary, and now we got yes, no, maybe. So now
a little
it's
off, a little on,
a little more, and we're feeding these giant computers everything. So people say they're not as smart. I mean, dude, they're already beating people at chess and stuff. But I mean, there's no question we're getting to that point, and I think you're seeing us basically starting to design ourselves out. I'm kind of almost convinced that we're basically consciousness, which we are. Consciousness is everything. It's everything is basically redesigning what it's going to be now. And I think the machine is basically everything is just energy, right? At the quantum level is just vibrations and energy. You know, my table is energy. So maybe now if intelligence starts to get put into that, which is one of the things that's happening in everything, intelligence is being put in everything. It's being put in roads and cement and, you know, glasses and refrigerators, and everything is getting intelligence built in, which is then now connected to the grid, which is basically the information piece. So we're at a very interesting time. I mean, I'm curious if humans will even be here in 100 years, right? I don't even know if this whole thing will go. Because I mean, if you think about it, the one thing that the planet can do without is humans. It doesn't care. This thing's been burning for billions, 4 or 5 billion years, right? Billions of years. And just because we think we're so cool, do we really need to be here? Probably not. I mean, if we weren't, if the intelligence to be able to do specific things and happening, do we need it? Yeah, nature's not going to care if we're here or not. I mean, so
exactly
see what's going on.
Yeah. Mike says the countdown to Skynet, and it's true. I mean, if we didn't learn from that film, and there is no safeguard you could put into technology that you would be like, oh no, we can pull the plug at any time. Well, the more intelligence you feed it, it will work its way around that and ensure its survival.
Well, we're at a point. I mean, remember, we've got robots that self-heal; they fix themselves. Right. And they've also now, I just read just not too long ago, it was they now have a robot that reproduces itself.
Oh, great.
Oh my God.
Like it creates another robot. Right. So it's like, we're now getting into this whole trippy world of how this is in. And then now we're already seeing it like big time. If you just look at what's happened with, I don't know if you saw Social Dilemma. Did you see that movie? Did you guys watch that?
It's on my list. I haven't seen it yet, though.
No, you must. And anybody watching this, you have to go watch Social Dilemma. Why? Because it basically affects everybody, and especially if you have kids and anything. It's really talking about, remember, AI at the social network level, and basically how whoever controls those can basically control people's behaviors. And we're seeing that like crazy right now, because look at what's going on with just like you can't even go on right now and have a conversation without somebody getting in a fight, right? Because of all this political stuff. Why is that? We never had that problem before, but they've been able to, these algorithms are basically training us to think totally differently. Like, to the point where even if you serve facts up to somebody, you show them the facts, if they've been programmed to like, no, I don't believe it, they won't believe it. You can't, even with the hardcore facts, they won't believe it. It's actually a very kind of scary time in a sense from that point of view, the whole idea of behavioral science being used. And there's also, there's a great movie you got to check out. It's called Century of the Self. Century of the Self. You can go just Google it. It's a BBC documentary that came out, I don't know how many years ago, but it's about Edward Bernays. And Edward Bernays, most people don't really know who he is. He was the grandfather, the father of changing the word propaganda to PR, right? To public relations.
Okay.
Because it's really, if you think about it, when you're pumping out stuff, your marketing is propaganda in a sense. It's training people to buy stuff, and there's a way to do that. But it's his cousin, I think it is, was Sigmund Freud. And together they worked on the whole idea of how do I control crowds? How do I control crowds? I guarantee you, anybody goes and watches that now. It's a beautiful document. I guarantee you will start it, and in the first 10 seconds, you're going to be hooked. You're going to want to watch this thing because it's so incredible to see how this goes down. It's all about Freud and this whole thing and how they went and did this. You watch that movie, and then you watch Social Dilemma, and you go, uh-oh. Things are very iffy, because when he was doing it back in the day, they didn't have this instant communication. They didn't have this device in everybody's hand.
Yeah.
They didn't have it like where I'm riding with my buddy. His 2 kids are in the back seat. They don't talk. They text back and forth.
Yes.
So they're not even communicating. So we have this machine, and I would say we're already merging because everything we do is now connected to this. It's almost like it's injected in our.
I don't even carry a wallet anymore.
Yeah, that's
It's
what I mean.
true. I don't either.
All these things have changed. So we're at a very interesting time in a turning point in society in general and how humanity works. And I think I think there's a few things that are about to happen here very shortly that is going to change the entire planet in a big, big way, because you're seeing people waking up all over the world, right? There's a giant movement that's starting to happen where people are like, enough, right? We're not going to take this anymore because we're getting completely kind of manipulated by high-end marketing in a way that is just taking people over. And I think that's starting now to, people are starting to wake up to that. And I think there's going to be some very interesting things that are going to happen here very shortly to the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we even did the test where we started saying, sorry, Tony, do you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, Ash and I did this test where we kept saying vacation, the word vacation all the time around. We have, we had Google devices and phones and stuff like that. And what do you think ads started popping up on our phones? Right?
Vacation spot.
Yeah, of course.
These things are never off.
Yeah.
Even when you shut it off, it's on because it needs to maintain. And I mean, that was the one thing, about WikiLeaks when he started talking about how things are being tracked. And I mean, it's crazy how when you watch social media, everything you do, I mean, just if you're scrolling and you stop on something, man, that's getting logged. So it's learning all the behaviors, and it says, oh, you like this. And now we're getting a one-side thing. The danger is we're seeing, you're only getting the information that you want to see, that you want to get fed. And that's why you're seeing this massive divide in the world, because the certain people that listen to one set of information are getting it, and the other side is getting it from another set of information, and it's completely isolated. It's like, it seems like it's so strange, because now you're even at a point, like if you found something that was really cool, and let's say it had some political thing and you want to share with your friend, if it's not on their thing, it's like, now we're at war, right? It's like, I've never seen so many people take their friends and just say, I don't want to be friends anymore. Why is that happening? And that's what kind of concerns me of how this behavioral science and how that all works, because it's really about programming people's thought, right? You're basically making impressions, and it's basically marketing 101, right? It's the same old thing. You say it's something, then there's like, if somebody hears it 22 times or 21 times or something, then it gets ingrained. And, we use it for self-hypnosis to basically program. Well, now you put it in front of a machine and somebody that says, I think I want them to think like this, right? And you set that up. Yeah. That's why everybody's got to look at Social Dilemma. I mean, especially for people that have children that are putting those things in their devices at 8 or 9 years old and saying, here's your new babysitter, right? I think is very, 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 very dangerous in a lot of ways. And so any parent, please go watch Social Dilemma and understand what's happening so that you can maybe try to do something here to help deal with this, because I'm a little bit like, whoa, we're getting ready to go. I mean, as a technologist, I've never seen things that are going down like this. It's crazy. But then there's also a lot of great things too. But the problem is when the dark forces start getting into it, that's when it gets a little goofy, right?
Yeah.
So,
Matt and I are, of course, being huge technology fans ourselves as well. But even at that point, I'm pretty sure, Matt, you're the same way, but you have to remind the family there are times we have to unplug. There are times that, we're going to go camping or we're going to do stuff that you've got to get away from the technology. And I know it's tough, especially for kids who, like you said, have that device in their hand from age 5 or even less nowadays. And,
it's addictive, right?
It is. It's just no different than drugs or alcohol.
To addict you. I mean, when you look at how they design the algorithms, right? I mean, there are books all about this. I'm trying to remember the book I was going to say, which is fascinating because it talks about how the tech companies build the algorithms to basically hit the dopamine. You know, it's like it's all set up to like, oh, okay, you got this one thing, you do this one thing. There's this whole viral loop of things that it gets you to do, so that you're like that rat. Like, remember we used to see the rats that they used to put in and test. You know, they get them to go eat the food, and then they basically get this habit going, and that's what's happening with this. You know, with these phones and the way they write these programs. Right. And it's pretty scary in a sense, because it puts the power in the certain people that know how to do that in a way. And that's why I think we need to like really educate as much as we can, so the parents know, because I mean, I'm telling you, if I had kids right now, the last thing I'd put in their hand is this damn machine in the beginning, especially till they get to an age and they can understand. And if I had a 14, 15-year-old kid, I'd sit them down to Social Dilemma and make them understand that every time they like something, or every time they stop and look at something, or when they comment, everything stays on the internet. It's always there forever.
It's always there.
And it can come back to haunt you. And at the same time, you got to be careful not to be programmed by specific things. And so it's a different world we live in, for sure.
It's really interesting. My wife and I were watching her youngest, and she was watching a YouTube video, and it's, you know, like how there's kids' toys that are like surprise toys. You never know what you're gonna get, and you open it, and sometimes you get something rare, sometimes you get something ultra rare, and you know, it got to a moment that we realized someone out there has created a toy to instantly start a child on the path to gambling, because that's what it was. You know, you're waiting for the big score, you're waiting for that ultra prize or that very rare toy, and I was just like, crap. Like, you know, you thought, oh, it's fun because my kids are watching a video, but it makes them want to play with toys. And then it got to a point where they actually weren't even playing it. They opened it, they were seeing if they had the rare one, and if not, they wanted to get another one. And I'm like, wow, that was brilliant marketing.
I mean, that's the whole,
you know,
marketing programming to get you to keep coming back and back. And then people don't realize that on these social networks, you are the product. Because it's free, right? Yes. It's free. I get to use this thing free, right? Well, it was just like when you look at where Facebook was at originally, where you bring all your audience, you bring all your friends, and now you can't reach your friends, right? You have to take out ads. You have to pay. So it was like, well, wait a minute. I brought all my audience over here. I don't have access to the information. I have no data. They keep it all. And there's something. So, oops, I just got duped. Like, so people need to understand when it's free on the internet, you're the product.
yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Nothing's free.
Yeah, as Drew mentioned, even in video games and stuff, loot boxes, right? I mean, it's and that was kind of the forerunner to pay to win kind of thing, where it's like, oh, do you want the best weapons? Do you want the best thing? Well, just give us more money after you pay for the game. Yeah. So again,
well, they
stemming from the same.
Yeah.
That's right. Or they give you the game for free, right? But then, $5 to get this. Oh, do you want a season pass? Well, that's $39.99. You know, and
Dad, I'm addicted to crystal meth. As long as you're not playing Call of Duty, son.
Yeah, that's right. You know, a friend of mine has a company. He's one of the biggest companies in the virtual, virtual. What do you call them? Game stuff like armor, shirts, guns, all that virtual. What do you call that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Loot crates and stuff.
It's a massive business. So you get on the game and you want to buy. They even have some of those things. There's like guns or stuff that I've seen people bidding up prices to over $100,000 for to have a digital product. And another big area that's starting to happen is in the blockchain area. The whole idea of digital collectibles. Greeting cards. I had a friend built a set of deck of cards that was called Crypto Heroes, right? It was all around crypto. They made all the crypto guys from cryptocurrency and stuff into superheroes, and they created them in digital in a blockchain so that there's only 5 of that card or 10 of this card. They ended up selling those things, and he said they did about $150,000 in the first 15 minutes.
It's crazy.
So there's so many new areas of ways to go and create things and money. And I mean, it's just a whole new economy, right? We're going into a whole new game, right?
Yeah. Just imagine the amount of money wasted on something you don't physically own. It could be literally abolished with a high-powered magnet. It's just gone.
Well, think about subscription services in the last, even 5 years, say. Like now there's Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Amazon. Like,
Don't get me started with Amazon.
Digital goods are like a huge chunk of our lives now, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
I'd be lying if I hadn't have said I've purchased, an extra 10 lives in Candy Crush, or, it's it happens. So, because you think, it's only a buck here, a buck there.
At a time until you're like, oh, I gotta have more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then you total that up at the end of the month and realize you spent like $200.
Well, and that's just it, right? Like it does add up, and that's why the free model scares me the most. So
it's called freemium.
Yeah, freemium.
Yes.
Right?
The premium. So, when I look at everything we've kind of talked about tonight, and we go back to that new experience that you're looking at, the fact that you see these trends, the fact that you see that, what people are kind of in behind the scenes doing, or even just the technology is doing alone, and yet you're still turning around and you're trying to create an event that again brings people together versus everything else that is pushing people farther apart and less connected. So I really love it, and I feel like this is where things are going to be going, because even when COVID is over, we've now proven that you can stay in your house and function no problem. Right? You don't need to go out. You can have groceries brought to you. You can have Amazon. You can have everything you need brought to you.
Yeah.
And it only comes at the cost of bandwidth.
That's where we're going. I mean,
That's
look at all the major companies now are saying you don't have to go back to work from home. I think New York is toast from where it's going to be. It's going to be a long time before that place comes back at all, if it ever really does, because people aren't going to be working in the offices anymore. They're moving out of the cities and they're being the thing. Because I'm connected. I don't need to be. I'm on. If I can do these kind of calls, I mean, I'm more busy now than I was when I was doing before, because, I'd get up and I'd say, oh, okay, I got 2 meetings. I got to go over to the West Side. I got a 45-minute to an hour drive there. I can do 2 meetings over there, drive. My whole day's done. I did 2 things. And now I can sit here and I can go every hour, bing, 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 bing. I can do like 5 times the amount. And I'm so almost inundated more now with more work because of the fact that we're connected more now in this type of an environment. And we're getting used to it, because there's something pretty nice about being like this. See, right? So I can be in my clothes, but then I can have my sweatpants on below. I don't have to go to work.
Hell yeah.
It's like the new mullet, right? Remember, it used to be party in the front, party in the back, business in the front. So now it's business on top, party on the bottom.
Party on the bottom. Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting things about it. But, the one thing that's really fascinated me is the concept of how we've gone a year now in this, and it's like time is truly an illusion. It feels like I can't even believe a year has gone by, because it feels like you're doing the same things, seeing the same things every day. You're just kind of doing this stuff, and there's no sense of time. And it goes back to the fact, the great avatars and mystics, everybody, they all talk about the fact that time is an illusion, right? And now I think people are starting to see you're actually right, because I blinked and a year went by and I'm like, huh? Doesn't that feel like that to you guys? It's weird. We've been stuck in our homes.
Totally.
Right?
I'm counting on that, actually, so that I don't have to age another year. I can be like, no, it never happened, because it was just like a couple weeks ago. Exactly. Time will stay still. Yeah, as Mike says, we've also proven that we travel more than we need to. I mean, when you get in, like you said, when you get into that car and you've got to go from business to business or area to area just to have a meeting, when now it's socially acceptable to do this completely online, to do it from the comfort of your home.
Yeah, I mean, I miss my car,
provided you're wearing pants.
I miss my car because that was my shrine. That was my shrine, because I could go, oh, okay, it's a place to get away, because I listen to a lot of spoken word, right? So I was like, consciousness is my favorite subject. So I'd throw on Eckhart Tolle and I'd sit there and I'd be like praying for more traffic, because I could sit in my car all quiet and have my space. And so now I don't have that the same. And it's very interesting, because now I'm just taking calls on this thing all day long. And I'm like, help me, right? It's too much.
Right? You got to run out of the house and jump into the car and go for a ride just to have some peace of mind.
Yeah. I have many miles on my car. That's for sure. I was just about to get a new car, and I thought, I'm sure glad I didn't, because the whole year I might as well wait. I think I can't even think of how much I've driven. I mean, very little. I mean, hardly any miles.
Yes.
You know, so.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it does save, and hopefully somewhere, you know, we are helping the environment a little bit by reducing that carbon footprint by not driving as much. Or at least that's, you know, because they always say everybody's out there driving too much, you need to carpool. But really, let's think about, is it the factory? Is it the cars? Is it the factories that are really killing the environment? You know, if everybody's staying at home and then suddenly people are still reproducing and now we're building more homes, well, that's just killing the environment, right? So it's hard to say. It's hard to say for the, I know with COVID, apparently all the pregnancies and then the expected boom that is going to happen from the amount of children that have come out of the last year of families being together.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some rough times in general, man. I'm more concerned from the lockdown than I am on the COVID, because I think that the lockdown has destroyed us at a level that we're about to go.
Mental health wise, I agree.
What's about to happen? I mean, it's rough. I mean, I'm seeing, it's so sad because I'm seeing, we know, not being able to play clubs and stuff. And I just don't understand. We have the data now. Locking down doesn't really work. I mean, we know all these things, and we now know there's things that we can do. And this locking down, what it's doing to families. I mean, I've so many of my friends have lost their businesses, everything they've had. I've got friends that are now living on the street because they lived off the economy of, like, you know, musicians that I know, you know, people that I know that lived off of working clubs and, you know, that kind of space of the business where they pick up, you know, 3 or 4 club gigs a week and they kind of have their interview. With that all gone, they're like, I have nothing. And they're basically, I mean, the stories I'm hearing from people and friends, and that I'm hearing about people that are just like, man, it's rough. This is really, really rough. It is. And I'm afraid of what I think is going to happen. You know, you can't shut a world down for a year like this and not think there's going to be repercussions, right? So
that's right. That's right.
I'm
even just how long will it take, Rin? How long will it take for this to bounce back, or will we ever bounce back? Because, you know, I know they say, you know, eventually let's hope COVID goes away and we can get back to normal. Well, there is no normal anymore. That's gone. I mean, you know, just for what we've been able to do.
But the thing that scares me the most is why our leaders are not talking about, when you talk about COVID, what it does, why are we not talking about what the lockdown does at the same time and try to come up with a happy medium?
That's right.
Because I got friends, they own restaurants. They spend all this money to set up to be outside, and all of a sudden they shut everybody down again. And it's like, what are you doing? There's no data because, and then even like they're recalling Governor Newsom, our guy, because this guy's completely trashed, or I'm sorry, whoever likes him or whatever. But it's just like, I'm seeing so much devastation to people I know and their friends for zero reason. We already know that the amount of people that are getting it from going to restaurants, we got to manage it. It isn't just going to disappear. We got to learn how do we manage it and deal with it and not have to, you know, destroy people's lives. Because I'm telling you, these people, the homeless situation in Los Angeles now, I mean, I'm driving down the street, everything, it's just piling up. And it's very disheartening that we have people that will not try to listen to, like, how do we solve this? Because I know just in my own area that there's a lot of people that could, all these businesses, they want to be safe. Why are we not getting together and saying, how do we make this happen, and letting the people do it? It's mind-boggling to me what's going down. And they're talking like the COVID thing is going to be the worst thing of this whole thing. And I'm telling you, I'm way more worried what's going to happen to New York now, right? I mean, now that it's torn out, what's going to happen to all these restaurants that are going out of businesses?
Even our way in Toronto, they say that they've never had more people ever move away from Toronto than in the last year.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely
people can't even afford it.
I know 15 people that have moved out of LA already.
Yeah.
And
they realize, you know, the equity that's in their house is what they're going to have to live on. So they have to sell and downgrade and move out maybe farther from the main cities and stuff. So
it's really something. It's crazy. We're going to go through a wild time, my friends. After this thing starts to pull out, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah,
but, you know,
exactly.
Hey, the good news is we're pretty resilient. We'll figure it out, right? I mean, it's going to get figured out.
And vaccines are being made now, so that's happening.
Yeah. I feel like you're right. There needed to be some forward thinking on if this was going to take so long, how can we work around it so that life can continue to move, that businesses can still function, and that really should have been the focus.
I mean, some of the things that are so disheartening right now is now they know that there's so many false positives with the test, right? Even the World Health Organization just came out and said, we're getting a lot of false positives here. We need to crank down those cycles of how many times we do it, because it was picking up on things where, I don't know if you saw the guy in Australia when he opened up a can of Coke and he tested the can of Coke and it was positive. I mean, it's like everything was like, so the being so bad, right? And now, they just cut it back, and they said, oh, we got to cut back. So all those people that were having it, when creating all that fear and stuff, a lot of the people really didn't have it like they thought they had it, right? Because again, it takes a certain amount of whatever. I mean, you might have a little bit of a trace of something that would pick up on the test, but you're noticing all of a sudden the amount of people is just dropping like crazy. I think it went down 40-50% in the last week. I mean, it's just plummeting right now. So
yeah.
And we're still not. And then I just heard today that they said, remember there was I was very surprised to hear, Biden got in. He said, okay, we're first 100 days, we're going to open the schools, because we now have all the data that the schools can open safely. They've tested. I mean, there's all these studies, peer reviewed things that it's not causing more thing. And these kids being out of school and what it's doing to them psyche wise and everything else. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, it's crime from my point of view. And now he just came out and he said, yeah, we're going to open the schools 1 day a week. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Ours are open here now.
Parents can't go back to work. They can't do. I mean, it's crazy. And I think people are getting tired now. I mean, we're seeing people going enough.
Yeah.
There's too much data.
They're just like, I'll just fucking get it.
And then it's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so
well, as Matt mentioned up here. Yeah, we're very fortunate up here. Schools in a lot of the areas have reopened, and they did take a little extra time after the Christmas break just to be on the safe side, and it hasn't really changed any of the numbers. So but they came up very strict time, kind of guideline: check your kids, make sure they don't have fevers and all this stuff, and if they are feeling ill, like, just keep your kid home an extra day, let them sleep it off, or let them get relaxed before you send them back on the off chance. It's even just something as simple as a cold. Now, they've also said the flu has been pretty much abolished because of all this.
Well, my question is too, is it the flu that's being abolished, or is a lot of this being mistaken as the flu? Again, way those tests were working, right? People getting like, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, because remember, I just saw something that was said the other day that was like, one of the cases, they said, oh, we had 35 cases of the flu. Normally we have 17,000 cases. And you got to go, well, it's not totally making complete sense that we would completely go down to that. Are we getting a lot of mistakes in the call on what they're actually doing? So I just kind of question the numbers, because things logically are not making sense to me, at least when you look at it. I don't know. It's very, very, very interesting time right now. And the leaders that are running this play, I mean, I'm kind of questioning, are you kidding me? Why are we not having this conversation? These are people.
Exactly. Well, you know what? Because they
results on it. Why can't we? They did everything outside, and when they closed down Los Angeles, the crazy part was it was like they had no data that said that was where it was being spread in the restaurants, and so the restaurants are going, well, show us the data. What is making you do this again? And they couldn't come up with it. And so you kind of go, why are they doing this? Yeah. People are starting to wonder what is going on. I mean, there's just too many things that make no sense, right? If there's no logic behind it. And then you start wondering, God, is there something more nefarious? Is there another reason? Or is there something else that we're not logically thinking, clearly about, to try to figure out how do we solve it for everyone? How do we take care of, worry about those people, that their families, their businesses and everything? Because I mean, the amount of businesses that are shutting down, the restaurants, all the clubs. I mean, it's crazy. We were part of this whole Save the Stages, which was NEVA, the National Independent Venue Owner, whatever, NEVA, Venue Association. And we worked on some project to help them, because all those clubs, it was like 90% of all clubs and venues were on the brink of going out of business. Now they just were able to get a bill in this, whatever the bill that's coming in to get some relief. But, you know, okay, we got the relief, but nobody's going to show up at the club because we can't go to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if the doors are still closed, what relief is it really giving?
They were doing stuff like, it's crazy. We had one of the ladies, we do a talk show called the Rock and Talk Show, which is myself, Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction, Nord Fisher from Fishbone, and all of us. And we do this thing every other week. And we had on during this with the Save the Stages, one of the ladies that owns the comedy club, right? And they have it's called Flappers, one of the biggest comedy clubs. She says, okay, you know, our club, we've got slashed, so we put together a drive-in theater idea, right? Like the people were doing at the live clubs, and you drive in and do it. And the city wouldn't let them do it, comedy. And you're going, why would you let the guys do a live concert and not allow her to do comedy? She was livid. I mean, just like, what are you talking about? This is comedy. Guys standing
and the fact that you're keeping people in their cars.
Drive in the car and I can't do, but you'll let a rock concert. That's what I mean. There's right now, there are so many things that are making no sense at all. Right. And that's why I think there's going to be some major things coming down the line here pretty quick. And if you follow it really closely, there's some really major things that are about to happen. And it's going to be very interesting.
As Drew had mentioned. As Drew had mentioned, you know, like having people around the Super Bowl. Apparently they deem the Super Bowl still important to have a lot of people at when, you know, we can't have people in restaurants.
People can't open their restaurants.
I mean, that one that went around
doesn't make any sense.
Was that woman that had a restaurant. She built her outside thing. She had all her awnings, all this stuff. They spent $20,000. They were up. And then she got completely shut down, and she was been trying to fight to try to figure out how to stay alive. And then just right in her parking lot, they allowed to do a film, and they set up the same kind of tents outside, and they had all the people outside there working in the same kind, no different. And she was sitting there on I mean, it was a viral thing. It went everywhere. She's sitting there crying. She said, I'm trying to save my business. And the governor or whatever, the mayor or whatever the city said, hey, this is okay. You can go do your video shoot to do this whole thing. And right in the parking lot, right there with the same kind of canopies, the same kind of tables, the same situation. And they allowed that. And you're like, why are they doing this? That's what all of us have to start questioning. We have to start getting educated more on what's happening, because we have to have say in what's going on. I'm getting a little bit like, what the heck are they doing this for? Why? Because it makes no sense.
See, if I was in that
logical person would say it doesn't make any sense.
That's right. If I was in that position, it'd be like, yes, you can film your film as long as she gets to cater it, and then there would have been a win-win.
Well, exactly. Something. I mean, but just to shut these businesses down, especially people that went out of their way to make it happen, and then just to completely do it again and tear them down. It seems like they're just trying to destroy businesses for some reason. And, you know, again, Amazon didn't have any problems.
Yeah, of course.
They're big up.
That's right.
They're through the roof.
To the moon.
So there's businesses that are, you know, all the big box delivery kind of places that can go. And there's something going on, folks, that's not making sense to me.
Someone's getting paid.
Someone's
got to read between the lines. Yeah, exactly. Well, Scott, we have gone through another episode today, and we still have not hit the 20 questions. So, you know, that means we have to have you back again to not only get your 20 questions.
All right. Well, that sounds great. You know, anytime. I love
exactly.
I feel at home here. I come here, and it's like I'm hanging with my bros.
Man.
You know, chatting away about crazy stuff, you know, learning about guys making guitars out of their uncles. You know, I mean, where are you going to find that kind of entertainment, man? Right?
Right. Exactly. So good. You know, as always, Scott, it is wonderful having you here. We feel the same, and it's such an easy conversation. You know, we can't wait to, of course, have you back again, and we will make sure we do that, because you always bring so much amazing information. You know, even from just the music industry, from the technological side of things. Clearly, you know, we need more people like you in politics, almost being able to help with these things, stating like, as you're so forward thinking on these things. We need more people that are forward thinkers.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, that's very kind of you, actually, to say, and thank you. And like I said, I love coming on the show with you guys, because like I said, it feels like home. There's no weirdness. It's not stupid questions. It's fun, right? It's like entertaining, and we can have a real conversation. And, you know, it's fun because then the people get a fly on the wall, get a little different kind of a different kind of a show. Sometimes they're better than others, and sometimes we hit it. But like I said, anytime you guys want me, I'm on, man.
I still want a pair of those shoes, man.
For sure.
I know. Get rocking here again pretty soon, and we'll be back in the game. So that's my hope. Please, please, please.
Exactly. We'll keep it up. We can't wait to see this interactive experience. I'm still waiting, of course, for that Oculus version where I can go. Like, I love the idea, and I know we're wrapping things up, and I really want to come back to this quickly. I love the idea of the interactive concert where, even the fans can get in maybe some time with the celebrity, whoever's singing or wherever it is, because that's a thing that people had to pay a premium just to go on stage or behind stage as a VIP pass. To be able to offer that now as a service to say, hey, you get 5 minutes to talk with them before the show or something. Wow. Well, just amazing.
People would love it if, let's say we had, Flea in this conversation with us, just hanging out. So I get to go backstage before the show and Flea joins into my conversation with three of my buddies. I mean, that's like a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a premium kind of a business model.
I love it.
So those are the areas we're experimenting with in a big way, because I think there's some real-time two-way changes everything, right? That's the big part, is the two-way communication in real time.
Hey man, if you ever want to test it out and test your bandwidth up to Canada, you just give us a call.
You let us know.
I'm going to be reaching out to all my friends that I'm doing these shows, because I'm going to reach out, because when we launch our show, I want to get you guys involved too. I want to get everybody involved.
I'd love to.
You remember, community is all about building a community. It's about building those relationships, and we can all help each other out, right? There's ways that we can collaborate so that it's good for you and it's good for me. I always work on the win-win situation, and I always concentrate on the WIFM. You know what WIFM is? Yep. What's in it for me? So not so much me, but I'm saying the other person. I always wonder what their WIFM is, because they're wondering what's in it for them, right? And so if you can figure out how we can combine, and especially where geolocation doesn't make any difference anymore. You're in Canada, it doesn't matter. We can still be part and share in this experience and work ways to say, hey, let's work on something together that's valuable together and help each other kind of grow our businesses and, go from there and have some fun.
Excellent.
100%.
It's a great idea.
Well, you got the winning ideas to make the world a better place. And
we'll
I'm really looking forward to see what you have. Yeah,
roll the dice again.
Good.
We'll see. Some win, some don't
we'll reach
win.
out. Exactly. Reach out, stay in touch. Let us know how we can help. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much. Honorable Hang. Hello, audience out there, wherever you are. I see you.
They're spread out. They're everywhere.
They're out there. All right.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
All right. Well, thank you.
And
thanks, Scott.
Thank you, and thank all our listeners who chimed in today as well and brought up some really good points. It's wonderful.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.